Okay, so now we're on. Welcome back, guys, to Miss Jones's story time. And our book is Amelia Bedelia. We're on chapter 3. Chapter 3 tells us that it looks like Amelia Bedelia may be sitting down to eat here. And then that looks like it may be Dad. Yes, looks like Dad is looking. And he's looking at Mom. And look at that line right there. That line says that they may actually be trying to communicate with each other without actually speaking. So, those are all our little doodles on this page today. So it says, there but for Grace. And I remember in the first one I told you guys that Grace has a capital G. That usually means we're talking about a person. And please, said Amelia Bedelia, bring me a new bike. Amen. After she finished saying grace, Amelia Bedelia dove into her supper. Her parents did not begin to eat. They just looked at her, then at each other. Her mom arched an eyebrow as high as it would go. Her dad opened his eyes super wide for a couple of seconds, as if someone had stepped on his stomach. Had Amelia Bedelia been paying attention instead of twirling her spaghetti and dreaming about bikes, she would have seen this secret eye talk that all parents use to communicate with each other when their kids are present. Amelia Bedelia's father unfolded his napkin, spread it on his lap, and then asked, "So, has anyone seen any nice bikes lately?" Amelia Bedelia sat up straight without having to be told and exclaimed, "You wouldn't believe the bike I saw today." She spent the next 10 minutes giving her parents an inch by inch description of the most beautiful bike in the world, down to the last spoke. "Goodness," said Amelia Bedelia's mother, "a bike that special must cost an arm and a leg." Amelia Bedelia shook her head. "I would never pay that much," she said. "You need both your arms to steer a bike like that, and both legs to pedal it." "That's a good point," said her father. "You certainly need to be big and strong to ride a bike like that." "Yes," said her mother. "So take a bite of your broccoli before it gets cold." Amelia Bedelia took an extra large bite. "How far away is Christmas?" she asked. "A long way away," said her mother. Amelia Bedelia took a smaller bite of her broccoli. "How far away is my birthday?" So, we talked about an arm and a leg in the book. Do we think we are actually going to have to purchase it with an arm and a leg? You're going to actually pay for things with an arm and a leg? Or do you think things cost money? And there's her broccoli. Well, I guess that's supposed to be broccoli. Yeah. There's her broccoli on a fork. Yep. So, continuing. She just asked about her birthday. How far away is that? "Even further," said her father. "Did I get all of my allowance this week?" Every penny, said her father. But remember, you'll have to pay me if you talk with your mouth full. Amelia Bedelia closed her mouth. She chewed and chewed. Then she swallowed and said, Could I get an early Christmas present and an early birthday present? A new bike is the only thing you'd have to give me, ever, for years and years. Well, said her mother, I think it would be better if a bike wasn't just given to you. Amelia Bedelia looked down at her plate. Her stomach hurt. Now she wished she had not eaten any broccoli at all. Since she was looking at her plate, she once again missed the eye talk between her parents. This time, her mom's eyes grew wider. Wow, both of her dad's eyebrows arched high enough to graze the ceiling. I agree, said her dad. You should work for a new bike and earn the money for at least half of it. Amelia Bedelia smiled and looked at her parents. Which half costs more? She said. The front half or the back half? I love this story. Okay, so we've got our money down here. We've got those symbols again. And then we have our bike, and it's split in half. The bike has the front and the back. So which part do you think costs more? Do you think it's the front half or the back half? Ooh, this chapter's a little bit longer, guys. They don't sell bikes that way, honey, said her mother. Then her father said, I'll tell you what. What? Asked Amelia Bedelia. What about what? What do you have to tell me about what? Can you please keep talking about my bike instead of what? Amelia Bedelia's father patiently refilled his water glass. We can't afford to buy a fancy bike like that, he said, but I can meet you halfway. Amelia Bedelia slid off her chair. She walked exactly halfway around the table and stood there. Her mom and dad stared at each other, then back at her. Okay, said Amelia Bedelia. Here I am. Are you going to meet me halfway or not? Amelia Bedelia's dad stood up and walked halfway around the table to meet her. He said, We will pay for half of the cost of a new bike, but you will have to pay for the other half. He held out his right hand. Amelia Bedelia looked at it. I can't pay you half tonight, she said. Of course not. Of course not, said her father. Tonight we'll make an arrangement or an agreement. In business, when you agree to do something, you shake the other person's hand. Amelia Bedelia grabbed his wrist and shook his hand as hard as she could. Up and down, up and... So instead of grabbing his hand to shake his hand, she took his wrist and shook it up and down. So, we asked the question, she asked that question, what? So we have what as a doodle up in the top. And then we talked about her going halfway around the table, meeting her father. And so her father walked the other half of the way. See if anything's on this page. Nothing's on that page. But then we have pictures on the next page. So we have our heart doodled up in the top corner. There she is, look, shaking Dad's hand. Literally shaking his hand up and down by the wrist. Owie, said her father. Not like that, sweetie. Sorry. Not like that, sweeties, said her mother. This is how you shake hands. Her mother showed her how to shake hands with her father. Make it a firm handshake, she said. Your hand shouldn't feel like a dead fish or a wet noodle. Then her parents gave each other a hug. You should probably leave out the hug part, sweetie, said her mother. Why? Said Amelia Bedelia. I love Dad. She shook her father's hand and then her mother's hand. Then Amelia Bedelia hugged both of them together. Family hug, she hollered. When they all hugged, when they were all hugged out, Amelia Bedelia's father said, Now, Amelia Bedelia, let's have dessert and talk about how you're going to earn your half of the bike. The end of chapter 3. And we just have a different heart over here. So, I think that's the only other doodle. The other little hearts in the corner up here. So, there you go. So now they've made an agreement that they're going to, Mom and Dad are going to give Amelia Bedelia the money if Amelia Bedelia earns her half of the money. So we talked about them earning halves. So it's not the front half and the back half of the bike. It's the half of the money. We're not actually paying with an arm and a leg. We're paying with money. It's just going to be kind of a lot of money to get this bike. See you next time.